A different mind. Do you think having a different mind is something good or is it bad? So can I have a show of hands? How many of you think that having a different mind is something good? Raise your hand. All right, most of you. No pressure. How many of you think that having a different mind is something bad? Can you raise your hand? Okay. All right, I know being from a Malaysian school, you probably want to know what the right answer is. I'm not going to give you the right answer. Okay, so people with autism have a different mind. So autism spectrum disorder, just as the name suggests, is a spectrum. Okay? It is very wide in its range and is often misunderstood. So I'm going to tell you two stories about two different students so that you can understand how different two different people are being on the same autistic spectrum disorder. Okay, so the first story is about Adam. Adam is a boy from KL. Him and his family have a YouTube channel documenting his life. So Adam does not speak. He is extremely sensitive to sights and sounds and textures, and the picture on the left, as you see, is on the floor. This picture is taken from a video of him getting his hair cut. So because of his frequent meltdowns, his parents decided to film him and decided to put it on YouTube to create awareness. So this is Adam, and he has autism. Then I want to tell you about a little boy that I worked with when I was in San Francisco. I'm going to call him Blake. So Blake is on the other side of the spectrum. He speaks very well. He is able to communicate. He loves letters and he loves numbers. He calls them his best friend. Okay, and Blake has photographic memory, so he is able to read at 4 years old, able to read at a 4th grade level. However, Blake also has frequent meltdowns. Whenever there's a change in his routine, like for example over here, they changed his music class, and he just couldn't take it, and he got really upset. Blake also struggles to be able to understand how another person might be feeling. So over here, he is obsessed with trying to jump and catch the 3rd monkey bar. And he's been doing that over and over again. And as you can tell, the girl at the back, how's she feeling? She's not very happy, right? She's upset. She's been waiting for so long, and she's starting to scold him, "Come on, Blake, hurry up." And he is just completely oblivious, and he doesn't understand why this girl is getting so upset. Okay, so at this point, you know that I have a strong interest in autism. But what is it that I do? I do vocational training for young adults with autism. However, we do it in a very different way. The driving force behind the training is actually inclusion. Okay, have a look at the diagram. What do you think inclusion is? Which number do you think inclusion is? Do you think it's number 1, number 2, or number 3? Can I see your hands? What do you think? 3. All right, you guys are very good. And this one, there is a right answer. It is number 3. Okay. So what is inclusion? Inclusion means that people with autism are included into society. They find they are seen, they are heard, and they find their valuable role within the community. So why inclusion? And what in the world does it have to do with you? Well, I'm going to tell you. Okay, so the other day I met a friend, a new friend, and we were having lunch, and then when you meet someone new, you kind of have that conversation about, oh, what do you do? So I told him, and then he said this. He said, what is your inspiration to do this? So I didn't really understand his question, so I said, I'm sorry, what do you mean by what is my inspiration? And then he said, "Ka hou听是what is your inspiration to do this啦？特別較無聽，較歹聽是，你安怎會愛做呢款嘅物件？" Which basically translates to, why are you spending your time doing something like this? Well, that's a really good question, and I'm sure some of you are probably thinking about that as well. it is something that is very important because this is autism is now coming to a place where people are calling it an epidemic. So 1 in 38 people in South Korea are diagnosed with autism, and the numbers are rising. So it is something that is going to touch us whether we like it or not. But inclusion, why is inclusion so important? Well, I'm going to share with you why inclusion is important. But first, I want to also share with you that inclusion has not always been the way that I would choose to go. So I have been in special education for over a decade. And I've only started to think about inclusion in 2015 when I did my practicum in San Francisco. In a normal middle school, I met a girl named Cindy. So Cindy has autism, but she also has a lot of other physical disabilities. Let me show you. This is Cindy. Okay, so Cindy is a girl who cannot speak. She's on a wheelchair. She eats through a feeding tube, and she has a personal nurse to help her with the sucking of her phlegm out from her chest. So Cindy is here. And Cindy is in a normal school together with all her other friends. And she shares the same classes as well. So when I was introduced to this concept, I was thinking, this is such a foreign idea to me. But, you know, it's in the US, so people do things like that. So I kind of just went along to see how it would be. So it was one day when Cindy's teacher, Mr. Matt, came in, and this guy is a joker. Okay, he comes in and then he says, "Hey, Cindy, look at the weather outside. Isn't it horrible? Man, I should have stayed in bed. You should have stayed in bed. What are you doing here?" And then Cindy's laughing. She's so happy because, you know, there are people who come and jokes together with her. And then she starts typing on her little device. It's called an AAC device, where she communicates with it. She starts typing. And then everybody just kind of stops and waits. And I'm thinking in my mind, this is all happening in here. I don't say it out loud. But I think to myself, did she even understand what the teacher said? Like, you know, what's going on? And why is everybody waiting? And then she presses read, and all of a sudden, out of that device, in a very robotic way, it said, "Cut it out, Mr. Matt." And so she told Mr. Matt to cut it out. And then she started laughing, and my jaw is on the ground because I can't believe that they're having a conversation. I mean, Cindy is having a conversation with someone, and she totally gets it. And to blow my mind even further, I find out that Cindy is on the cheerleading team. Yeah, I didn't believe it until I saw it. Would you like to see it? Yeah, this is Cindy on the cheerleading team, and she's sitting next to a girl who just broke her leg, so her leg is in a cast. So that's why she's sitting down. It's not two people on a wheelchair, it's just one person. But they are cheering at a basketball game. And this is inclusion. And this completely started to shift my mind about these people and being part of the community. And I truly believe that Cindy is where she is today because she grew up in an inclusive setting where people treat her with equal worth and equal value. And that's why she is where she is today. So, seeing all this really shifted my mind. And before I came back to Malaysia, I already made a decision that I am going to come back to Malaysia, and if I'm going to do anything, I want inclusion to be my driving force. And so I did. I came back and started a company called Let Me Learn together with my partner, Allison. And we partner with companies in the community so that it can be a training platform for our students to go in and train hands-on. At these companies, our students get to gain experience, and they get to really understand what the expectations are at at a normal workplace. They also get to socialize with their friends and socialize with coworkers, understand what is expected of them in a social setting, as well as have friends in the community. And all of this, most importantly, opens up work opportunities for them. You know, we are not opposed to autism-run cafes. There is a place for that. However, the amount of people that they can hire is very limited. 20, 30, 50, if it's a really big cafe. But if every single company just hires one person with autism, their opportunities would open up by the hundreds of thousands. And that would be something that would really allow them to have a future. So, is this the easiest path? Someone has asked me before, why inclusion? Is it the easiest path? No, it's not. Because whenever we bring our students out into public, we are also bringing them together with their meltdowns, their issues, their struggles. So I remember when we first started, there was one particular day that was rather stressful. We went to Be Angels Cafe at Island Plaza, brought our students there. We were working, and then one of my students accidentally spilled hot soup on his arm. So when that happened, he screamed. He was just like, screaming, and on the top of his lungs, and everybody turned to look, and it's fine. We went, we helped him, and then after that whole incident, he took out his phone, and then he realized that he had missed 5 messages from his online friend, and his online friend doesn't want to talk to him anymore, and then he had a second meltdown. So he's like freaking out, right? At this point, we are on the floor at Island Plaza. I'm squatting down, and people are thinking, what in the world is going on? And we just, have to console him. So after he was consoled, the funny part was, he usually comes to his senses after. And then he looked up at me and he said, "Oh my goodness, Miss Eileen, what if someone were to have captured that and put it on YouTube? My life would be ruined." And I'm sitting there thinking, if your life is ruined, I'm also going to be in the video, so we'll both be famous, right? So no, it isn't easy. But is it worth it? Absolutely. We have had so many students come in with depression. Some of them have attempted suicide. Some of them have been harming themselves. And most of them come in with extremely low self-confidence. And when they come in, they start to change. Currently, right now, some of our students are going back into college. Some of our students are getting employed at the companies that they train at. Some of our students have embarked on living independently, away from their families, in an apartment, and just really learning how to be on their own, functionally living. And they are not the only people who are being changed. We also see people in the community start to be aware that people who are different are not to be feared. We also have people in the community start to learn to embrace our students and learn different ways of communicating. If they don't understand you one way, find another way to explain it, simplify it. They are also learning, most importantly, about themselves. They are learning what their limits are, what triggers them, but they're also learning how to be better people, how to be more patient. So this is transforming the community. And if you see in this picture, these are all the people, they are co-workers that our students work with on a weekly basis. So when we moved our empowerment center into Pulau Tikus, we set out on a quest. Our quest was to make Pulau Tikus into an autism-friendly township. And we want our students to be able to go around, be safe, be able to buy food on their own, be able to walk to work, be able to live and independently take the bus, take Grab. So we started to engage with YB Chris Lee, Junkit, to really talk about how we can get the pedestrian crossings to be more functional. We even spoke to the police. We started to train our students. Well, we constantly train our students on how to be safe, how to cross the street. And most recently, we went out into the community and we got our students to go out to all the hawkers and all the shops that they always buy their food from, their chicken rice. Over here, this is the chicken rice stall. And they got them to go and share about us and being in that community, telling them, hey, uncle, I am a student from Let Me Learn. I have autism, so please be patient with me. Sometimes I pay you wrongly. Please don't scold me. Please speak gently to me. And then we got our students to go out and share with them, uncle, if let's say we get angry and we are upset, please don't let people take video of us and post on YouTube. So they are going out and they are creating awareness and advocating for themselves. And we do see people in the community being so compassionate. We saw an uncle, so we go into a hawker stall, right? And a lot of times when we go, we give them a small gift and we give them a flyer. And oftentimes the first reaction is, my bo. You know, they think that we want a donation and we tell them, no, we don't want a donation. So some of the hawkers were not so receptive because they didn't really understand. And there was one particular Hokkien Mee uncle, he saw the reactions of the others and he told them, he said, no, these people want to share something with you. Please listen. And he was explaining to them about what we needed. And that was just so beautiful that we could go out into the community and be able to tell them what we need and how they can support us. And so, right now, I would like to empower you. I know that many of you may think, well, I don't really know anyone with autism, or I'm not personally connected with anyone with autism. Let me tell you that you may be, and without even knowing it. A lot of companies, tech companies in Silicon Valley, they are the places that actually house the highest number of people with high-functioning autism. Now, I'm saying this not so that you can go back and try and diagnose all your colleagues and see, oh, this one definitely autistic, this one autistic. That's not the purpose of telling you that. But all I want you to do right now is to think of just one person who is a little bit different, who is a little isolated, they're always on their own. You know that socially they may struggle. And just think of one person. And I want to scale inclusion for you to get started. Okay? So think of that person, have that person in mind, and I'm going to give you 3 S's. The first S is to be a safe space. I want to challenge you guys to make sure that the people around you feel safe. What does safe mean? It means no harm, no shame, and no bullying. Okay? Let people be themselves when they are around you and let them know that they are accepted. And this does not mean that you cannot give feedback, honest feedback, because Alison and I always give honest feedback. It's okay to give feedback because that's the only way that they will learn. But the key to it is to give feedback that is gentle. So that's the first S. The second S is shades. You know this Instagram filter where you have the shades and then you nod your head and you change up your shades? I need you to switch up your shades so that you can see them in a different light. So I'm not going to lie to you. There are days when it is difficult. There are days when it is very frustrating. And I sit with Alison at the end of the day just like, this was the hardest day of our lives. But one thing that has really helped us through the frustration is to really stop and think about why they're doing what they're doing. Really stop and question that so that we are seeing things through their eyes. So instead of asking, why can't you see what I want? Maybe we should ask, what is it that you see? So the first S is safe, very good. Second S is very good. So the third S is same. Invite them into the same space as you. You know, it's a common myth as well that people with autism want to be left alone. They don't want to mix around, they want to be left alone. They don't want to be with people. That is not true. I think it's so important for us to remember that we are all the same. We're all human, which means that all of us have a desire for love and belonging. And so, think about that person in your workplace and think about what is it that you can do to make them feel a little bit less isolated, a little bit more accepted, and feel a sense of belonging. Okay, so those are the 3 S's. But before I go, I want to leave you with a story that I think illustrates very beautifully what inclusion is. So this is at Temple of Fine Arts. The boy in gray who is looking down, he is our student. He is someone who is very timid and he doesn't speak very much. He's constantly looking down. And he goes and they clear the plates at Temple of Fine Arts. And the man standing beside in the turquoise shirt, he's a customer. So one day, this guy comes up to me, and no, it doesn't come up to me, it comes up to the student and says, "Excuse me, can you come and help me do something?" So he leads the student over to his table, and then he says, "Can you help me clear my plate?" And so the student takes his plate, and he says, "I'll walk together with you." So they walk together all the way to the back, put the plate where it's meant to be at the sink, and then he comes out. And then he looks at my student and he says, "Thank you so much for helping me. You did a great job." And then he left. And that was just so transformative, I think, in that moment. My student was transformed to feel a little more empowered, feel a little better about themselves. And I believe that that customer also had slight transformation in his own life as well. So I want to challenge you guys to really be part of autism inclusion, because it is then that we can truly embrace a different mind. Thank you.